I'm Doug Jessup.
And I'm Nisha Nagaring, and welcome to Family Heritage Stories, where we talk about what makes us who we are. Things like traditions, values, and culture.
How are these things passed down from generation to generation? Through deeds, through words, and through stories. We all benefit from heroes among us. Now, they're going to say, it's just part of the job. But it's more than that. It's time for Hero Salute Stories. No, you're a veteran, and number one, thank you very much for your service. But what made you decide to get into the military?
3 days out of high school, some friends from Bingham High School figured that there was no jobs in Bingham and they weren't too crazy about being minors, so they said, let's go in the Air Force. It's after my first enlistment in the Air Force, I joined the Air National Guard, and I was able to become a full-time technician as a jet engine mechanic. So I was delighted to continue being a jet engine mechanic and look forward to traveling, which I did a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling. Okay, so tell me some of the countries that you ended up going to.
Well, it was the Korean War that had ended, and the Vietnam War crisis started, and we started hauling cargo to the Far East. And I got to go to Vietnam as a flight engine mechanic, and I went there 4 times to 3 different bases in Vietnam: Da Nang, Cam Ranh Bay, and Saigon.
Wow.
I became a flight crew member whenever they needed me to go on flights to all over the Far East, and then later on to other parts of the world.
Well, I mean, you got to make sure you're the guy that's keeping the plane flying. So
when we landed, that was my time to
well, yeah, it's true. Yeah, hopefully you're not working on it while it's flying.
There was one that we could, the inboard engines of the C-124s, we could go out, crawl out to the wing to the engine.
How many years did you end up with your military career working on planes?
I ended up with a total time of 35 years.
Wow. So where in Africa did you go and why?
One time we were hauling oversized cargo for the U.S. Embassy, one time to South Africa, Johannesburg, another time to the Katanga province in Zaire. We delivered some equipment for the Navy to do testing in Lake Tanganyika. Wow. And from there we went to Nairobi, Kenya, and got some rest and recuperation there. And then we headed home, and we could not get clearance to come back the same way we went in from the West. So because we could not get diplomatic clearance from one country small country in Africa. So we had to continue towards Thailand. And we ended up making a full circle around the world.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
In 21 days.
Oh, wow.
And 121 flying hours.
Okay.
We crossed the equator 4 times.
With another entry to Family Heritage Stories, I'm Doug Jessup with Enor Martinez.
Thank you for joining us for this special episode of Family Heritage Stories. If you would like to help us continue with this great and important programming, please visit herosalutestories.org.
Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other.
If you want help saving your family heritage stories with a private interview, contact Krista at fedorafoundation.org for pricing and availability. There is something so special about the bond between grandchild and grandparent. So how would you answer the question? Tell me about your grandma or your grandpa.
Yeah, I'd like to tell a story about my grandpa. He was a police officer in LA, and he told me a story about one time he got called to a robbery, and it was a gas station or convenience store. The store owner had bought a gun, it was super cheap, and he ended up shooting it at the robber, but the bullets never came out of the gun, and it just kept getting stuck and stuck, but the robber thought he had been shot 6 times. And so when the police had gotten there, the robber was on the ground and he had gone to the bathroom in his pants. And that's the story.
Have you ever wondered how an object becomes important enough to be passed down from generation to generation? Well, a little bit later in the show, we share one of our viewers' treasures remembered. What kind of traditions does your family have?
Hi, guys. With me today, Manuel Romero. So, Manuel, thanks for coming on. What I wanted to talk to you about is heritage, because let's get real. Unless you're Native American, everybody came from somewhere. And for all I know, maybe you might have some Native American, but where do your people call home, if you will, going way back?
Way back, New Mexico,
Oh, really?
450 years back.
Okay, don't normally hear New Mexico it's in the U.S., by the way, okay, that New Mexico as old. But wow, okay, so there's got to be a story behind that.
Well, my family came here as subjects of the Spanish crown to settle the northern province of New Mexico
Wow.
in 1600
Whoa.
and have been there ever since. And we were there, our family was there for 350 years before we moved to Utah
Wow. Yeah, well,
in the mid-1950s.
So where in New Mexico?
It's a little place called, well, we call it the Peñasco Village, which is made up of several villages.
Yes.
I was born in a little town called Rodarte, and that's where all of my brothers and my sisters were born, all 14 of us. And only 2, I believe, were born in a hospital. The rest we were born at home.
Wow.
And
Your mom. Wow.
yeah, what a remarkable woman she was. So, as I said, and during the time that our family was there and conducting my research, I just discovered just how much they had to do with New Mexico history, with U.S. history. And from the various rebellions to the Mexican-American War, and so on, and they survived, and all the challenges that it had to that came with it. You have to remember, this is 200 years before the pioneers came west.
Exactly.
Okay, they were coming up north from first Mexico City up to Zacatecas and then into what is now Santa Fe. And for example, 4 of the 8 families that's founded Santa Fe were our ancestors.
So Santa Fe is and your valley is about what part of New Mexico?
It's kind of north central.
Okay.
Okay, and then my family comes from the various counties from up north of Santa Fe, and like as I said, they've lived there for 350 years.
That's amazing. So how did they survive? I mean, what kind of things did they do?
And this is what is interesting about my story is that it was because of land that we came to New Mexico with land grants, okay,
Ah.
that were issued by either the Spanish crown or the Mexican government, and that enticed people to come north, and that's why my family came north. They were given these land grants. Our family, we come from two land grants. One is Las Trampas land grant, the other one is Santa Barbara land grant. My grandfather his name is on those grants, and on those documents rather, and so we have that connection with the land. And that kind of gives us a heads up, if you will, or a head start in researching or discovering our history, because we have documents with our ancestors' names written on them. And so, on the other hand, much of that land was stolen. Okay, there's a Santa Fe ring, there's swindlers, now you have to remember, in 1848, when New Mexico became part of the United States, approximately 70% of the population of New Mexico, first of all, were Spanish speaking and had followed Spanish law, not English law. So
okay.
had no clue about, contracts. Private property was even kind of different, because land grants oftentimes were communal. So a lot of this land was taken. So in time, it took its toll. The people could no longer go to the mountains to get their timber, herd their sheep. Their water rights were taken, and a variety of other things. So it made it more difficult for these people to make, or for our ancestors to make a living. So with time, jobs became more scarce, became harder to make a living and to survive in the area. So in time, these people would eventually leave, and in the beginning, they would leave temporarily to go sheep herd, to go pick crops as migrant labor. But in time, many of them stayed, and as my family came to Utah for jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. But New Mexico was a very alluring place. I myself have made easy 70 to 80 trips since leaving New Mexico, back and forth.
Wow.
My family has probably, and relatives and families that have left there, I could tell you, have put easily over 1 million miles going back and forth, because family, religious ceremonies, weddings, baptisms, funerals, there's a constant traffic between Salt Lake and the Peñasco Valley.
Oh, wow. Well, and the thing is, the traditions are just incredible, because to me, admittedly, and this is where I'm really, really glad to hear that you're doing this, because when I talk to people and say, okay, have you ever been able to go experience this and be on the land that your people were? And the people, a lot of people, most people have not. And the people that have, I mean, it's almost sacred ground.
Yes.
Because that is so cool, because you think you are literally walking in the footsteps of your grandparents, but it's just like way, way, way back. How many generations do you think the Romero family and your I guess it's ancestors have been there?
Well, from me backwards, 14 generations.
Whoa. Wow. So now here's the thing that I got to just ask, okay? You're the first person that I've been able to ask, because, okay, I got this many. How in the world did you know that it's 14 generations?
Well, fortunately, I live in Salt Lake, near the LDS Family Research Center.
Okay.
They were a tremendous help in discovering all this and finding all this information. And so with that, with DNA, with interviews, that's how we were able to find out, because we were my mother was able to name her grandmother, right?
Yeah.
And my father was able to name his grandmother, and in some cases his great grandmother. But again, through the Family Research Center, we were able to just discover this family tree that just expanded and went back. Wow. 14 generations.
Right now, and it's Me America,
A Journey of Discovery.
Journey of Discovery. Go to his website, which is
MeAmerica2020.com.
We'll be right back.
You're watching Family Heritage Stories with me and my grandpa. We'll be right back.
Hola, me llamo Ramon Esteves, a.k.a. Martin Sheen, here in Santiago de Compostela, and I'm proud to invite you to visit the land of my ancestors here in Galicia, Spain. It's a magical place of dreams and adventures, rich in history and ancient tales, a land of warm people and breathtaking beauty. So come, join me in the discovery of Galicia. Gracias y buen camino.
There are reasons why people celebrate things like Swiss days or Day of the Dead. It's about one word: culture. Objects with stories, those are treasures remembered.
I love the fact that there are certain items that get passed down from generation to generation.
Right.
So with me, my show, it's always everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. But from the standpoints of family heirlooms, the way I like to say there is that everyone has a story, but objects with stories are treasures remembered. And so you and I were chatting a little bit, and you've got a granddaughter that has got some big feet to fill with tiny little shoes.
That's right.
So this right here, my goodness sakes. Okay, you want to tell me about this and the person that owned those?
These little tiny boots were owned by Martha Jane Horn Tingey, who was actually the second president of the Young Women's Association for the LDS Church. She was not 5 feet tall, was always a little tiny thing. I think she had 7 children, it might have been 8.
Okay.
She actually served in the Young Women's Organization from her age 22 to age 72. She was the secretary of the organization for the first quite a few years of that, and then became the president later on when President Taylor was released. But these are her shoes, and I've put them in the care and keeping of Haley Holbrook, who's one of my granddaughters. And Haley is, her feet reach all the way to the ground like everybody else's.
Yeah.
But she's shorter than some of the other people in the family.
Okay.
We have a number of my nieces and my granddaughter and people who are a little bit shorter. But I gave them to Haley because I love Haley, and I'm so proud of her. She's an old soul, wise beyond her years, and I hope that she will keep these and share that memory of Maddie Tingey with the rest of the family down through the years, even after I'm gone.
So let's dive into this a little bit more. Okay, so your granddaughter's name is?
Haley.
Haley. We're going to go through the whole names on this one, okay?
Haley Holbrook.
Haley Holbrook. Who did Haley Holbrook get these shoes from?
Me.
And your name is?
Michael Tingey.
Okay, who did Michael Tingey get those shoes from?
From my mother, Beverly Tingey.
Okay, who did Beverly Tingey get them from?
And they were handed down, I'm sure, by my grandmother and grandfather Tingey. So
Okay,
Hazel,
so what were their names?
Hazel and Clarence.
Okay.
To their son, Burton Tingey. He always went by Buzz.
Okay.
And then Clarence Tingey was Buzz's father.
Okay.
Clarence and Hazel. And Martha Jane Horn Tingey was Clarence's mother.
Wow. See, to me, that's kind of the interesting thing, because, you can go into a cemetery and you can see a gravestone and it has a birth date and a death date. But to me, life is about the dash.
Yeah.
It's about the thing in between. And to be able to say, okay, these I got, so your granddaughter's, because she's going to end up passing them down to somebody else.
Yeah.
I got these from my grandfather, who got it from this person, who got it from this person, who got it
Right.
from this person. And it was handed down from generation to generation to this woman that had small feet, but apparently one big heart.
Everyone has a story.
And sometimes those stories are told through music. Family Heritage Stories features examples of stories from the past to help shape the future.
If you would like help saving your stories with a private interview, contact Krista at fedorafoundation.org for pricing and availability.
I'm going to sing lullabies that my mother sang to my oldest daughter, Letty, when she was a baby. And that's how I learned them. Yo soy una chiquitita que me dice mi mamá que si soy buena niñita, me ama mucho mi papá. Él me dio esta muñequita para que fuera a jugar a las nenes con las niñas y poder contenta estar. Quiero que te duermas pronto para irme a trabajar. Tengo que guisar la sopa, tu ropita que lavar y plancharte un vestidito para llevarte a...
It's our honor to be able to help people remember where they came from.
If stories are not passed down from generation to generation, the stories are lost, and it's as though those people never existed.
So how do you want to be remembered? With another episode of Family Heritage Stories, I'm Nisha DeGaring.
And I'm Doug Jessup.